Managing the twists and turns of the rental market is tough. At this ceilidh, in the heart of Sweden's capital, these Scottish expats know a thing or two about getting the steps right when it comes to finding somewhere to live.
It's very hard to find accommodation here, but it's a lot more rules in place about how it's organised. There's very long waiting lists, but then when you do get housing, it is very high quality.
When you buy an apartment in Stockholm, you join it's what's called a förening, which means it's a housing association, and everyone lives in a housing association. So that's really good because you can buy an apartment and it's always a well-maintained apartment.
You've got the kind of city municipal market, but you've got to have been in the queue for years and years to be able to get a place. So when you come over here, pretty much if you're on your own, you're at the mercy of the second-hand letting.
Under an hour away in Uppsala,
Ska vi ha lite bulle?
Daniel lives in a rent-controlled flat. Originally from Clydebank, he moved for university and has started a family, making the country his home.
Kompis, vill du ha med bulle eller vill du ha lite saft?
The £630 a month he pays includes his heating, hot water and some other bills.
We have a ungdomslägenhet, it's called. It's like a youth apartment. So that means that you have to be under 27 when you apply for it. There's no deposit on this flat. I didn't need to give any rent in advance. Like if you're having a family, you're going to worry about your bills every month. Are you going to be able to make it? Here, there's just that stability.
What's the one thing that when you tell your family and friends back home about your living situation that surprises them or makes them jealous maybe even?
It's the heating. I don't need to put on the heating. The heating's on 24/7 in the winter. It's always the same temperature. I can't imagine worrying about my boiler breaking down in the middle of a Glasgow winter, you know. And I think that's the big difference, is that home in Scotland, they don't understand always that we're a northern country. We shouldn't build houses like it's for London. We should build houses for our own needs, with good insulation, with good heating. And that's what we've done here. And I hope that it can be a model for Scotland.
One of the big issues in cities like Stockholm is just that there aren't enough rent-controlled properties to go around. It forces many people out of the city and into the suburbs. But because of that, there's a huge illegal subletting culture here, with a chain of as many as 2, 3 or even 4 people, with some desperate enough to offer bribes to get into a flat in a desirable area. To get a rent-controlled home, you need to join a queue. Many do this when they turn 18, but the waiting list is anywhere from 10 to 20 years long. The longer you're in the queue, the more points or credits you build up.
So this is the queue. Here's a map of Stockholm. So say there's about 600 flats out there right now. So I would be in place 68 out of 126 that have applied at the moment.
Lena secured this one-bed flat in a wealthy Stockholm suburb. While she waited, she stayed in a short-term let she also got from the queuing system. Her rent is £615 a month, but it goes up every year. This year, it's by 5.3%, and she can't challenge the increase.
If you don't want to pay your rent, there will be some other tenant who will. I think the rental market in Stockholm is hard. 10 years before you get somewhere to live? That's crazy. I can remember my parents, when they were young, they sort of walking down to the office and be like, do you have a bigger apartment? And they'd be like, yeah, we have, you can have it. And that sounds like a fantasy to me when I hear my parents talk about that. Now it's really, it's harder. It's a desperate situation for people to just find somewhere to live.
The tenants' union here in Sweden are very powerful. They negotiate with the landlords to keep the rents fair and affordable for tenants. But homeowners say that stifling the rent like this is hampering growth and construction within the housing sector. The strength of the rent caps is so problematic for landlords, many are leaving the market.
These levels, this weighting between these qualities were set in the beginning, we were back in the 70s. If you look at Stockholm, we had nearly 90% of all the apartments in a part of the city, they were rental market. the rental apartments. Today, they are like 30%.
The Scottish Government are considering bringing in rent caps. What would your advice to them be?
Don't. Don't do it. I mean, if you look to the economic school book, don't do it because you get a shortage. That's what's happened, so don't do it. If you have a quite flexible system, keep it. Don't mingle with how the market functions, because then you will, as in Sweden, build less than you should.
There are physical reminders that homeless rates are creeping up. Stockholm is building fewer houses, much like Scotland. All factors which make it harder to get a home in your chosen area.
I'm happy with what I've got, but I have to accept that, like, you know, I'm not going to be able to get a flat in central Stockholm. But you know what? I'm not going to get a flat in central London either. I'm not going to get a flat in central Glasgow. So for me, it's a pretty fair system.
While it feels like Sweden's housing system is modern and could be the future for Scotland, there's still the age-old problem of securing a home for the next generation.